Lesson 5.4, Dividing Fractions. Reciprocals are two non-zero numbers whose product is 1. An example of a reciprocal is 5. 5's reciprocal, because 5 can be a fraction by putting a 1 in the denominator, the reciprocal would be 1 over 5. Basically switch the numerator and denominator. The reciprocal of 2/3 would be 3 over 2. Again, we're switching the numerator and denominator. Multiplicative inverse is another name for reciprocals. To divide fractions, you multiply by its reciprocal. So 3/8 divided by 4/5, keep the first fraction the same, change division to multiplication, and then you flip the 5 and the 4. Now we can just multiply straight across. 3 times 5 is 15, 8 times 4 is 32. This works with all numbers as long as the denominators are not 0. You might want to remember that the first fraction stays the same, division sign changes to multiplication, and the second fraction flips. I also like to say this as same, change, flip. The first fraction stays the same, the division turns to multiplication, and you flip the second fraction. First fraction stays the same, change division to multiplication, flip to the reciprocal, and then you multiply straight across. Now you can see what they're going to do here is they're going to divide out common factors. 9 and 3 both divide by 3. 10 and 20 both divide by 10. And now you can just do 3 times 2, which is 6. For part B, remember that the reciprocal of a negative number is also a negative number. We're just flipping the denominator and numerator. So 11/12 stays the same. We change division to multiplication, and we flip -1 over 6 to 6 over -1. You can divide out common factors, and that's what they do here. Both divide by 6. 11 times 1 is 11. 2 times -1 is -2. 11 over -2 is your answer, or you can change it to a mixed number, -5 over 1/2. This time we're going to talk about dividing a fraction by a whole number. It's not any different. Just remember that the whole number 4 is a fraction. It has an invisible denominator of 1. So you keep 6/11ths the same, you change division to multiplication, and 4 over 1 becomes 1/4. Factor out or divide out the common factors. 6 and 4 both divide by 2. Left with 3 for the 6 and 2 for the 4. 3 times 1 is 3, over 11 times 2 is 22. Please pause the video and try 1 through 4 yourself, and then unpause the video to check your work. Remember the rule, same, change, flip. First fraction for number 1 stays the same. Change it to multiplication. Let's put the negative with the numerator. It doesn't matter, as long as you have one negative. We flip this. Divide out the common factors. Both divide by 3. Watch the negative. We have -8 4 times. Now we just multiply straight across. Over 15. Number 2, first one stays the same. Change to multiplication. flip to its reciprocal. Divide out common factors, both divide by 3. 16 and 10 both divide by 2. Multiply straight across. 15 over 8, which can be simplified to 1 7/8. Make sure you simplify. That's turning your improper fractions into mixed numbers. Number 3, negative 5/7. Again, I'm just going to bring the negative up with the numerator. Change to multiplication. Flip the second fraction. Divide out the common factors. Both divide by 7 and 7 and 14. Now we multiply straight across. Negative 10 over negative 11. Two negatives make a positive 10 over 11. For the first fraction stays the same. Change the multiplication. There was a 1 underneath the negative 6, so now it's in the numerator when we flip it. Divide out the common factors. Again, if you do not divide out the common factors, you're going to end up having to simplify this number, 3 over negative 48. Otherwise, it's going to do it quickly for you, which is 1 over negative 16. Let's talk about dividing mixed numbers. First of all, and this is what I said at the very beginning of talking about fractions, we're going to change it into improper fractions. So 4½ is 4 times 2 plus 1, which is 9 over 2. And then divide, because right now we're just changing it into improper. Keep the division. It's going to be a negative. Then don't count 4 times negative 3. Just kind of leave the negative out until the end. It's 4 times 3 is 12 plus 3 is 15 over 4. And again, there's the negative. It just comes with it. Now we can multiply by the reciprocal of negative 14 over 4. First one stays the same. Division turns to multiplication, and it becomes negative 4 over 15. Divide out common factors. That's what they're going to do here. Both divide by 3. Both divide by 2. Remember, there's a negative with one of these. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 over 5. Change it to an improper fraction. It's negative 1 1/5. You can always use estimation to check your answer, because 4 divided by negative 4, and what they did is they rounded it. This is close to negative 4. You know 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1, and so it makes sense that negative 1 1/5 is a reasonable answer. Please try 5 through 8, pause the video. Remember, all your mixed numbers have to be changed into improper fractions first. For number 5, we have 26 over 3 divided by 2 over 1. Keep it the same, multiply by 1/2. This becomes 13. This becomes 1. 13 over 3 is 4 1/3. Number 6, negative 54 over 5. Divide by 18 over 1. First fraction stays the same. Change to multiplication. Flip. 54 and 18 both can divide by, actually 18. You get negative 3 here and a 1. So you get negative 3/5 when you multiply straight across. (32 plus 1 is 33 over 4. Divide by 6 times 1 plus 5 is 11 over 6. First one stays the same, multiply by the reciprocal. Divide out common factors. Three times 3 is 9. 2 times 1 is 2. This is going to be 4 1/2 when you simplify it to a mixed number. Number 8, 7 times 7 is 49. 49 plus 5 is 54 over 7. Divide by 14 times 1 plus 13. It's going to be a negative answer. Don't count the negative, just kind of bring that negative down. 27 over 14. Now we keep it the same. Do not divide out common factors yet. Remember, we need to same, change, flip. 27 and 54 both divide by 27. And if you don't see that right away, you're just going to have to simplify at the end. 14 and 7 both divide by 7. You end up with 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 over 1, which is negative 4. A lot of times we use dividing fractions when we talk about baking. Same thing with multiplying fractions. You use 10 cups of flour to make pumpkin bread for a bake sale. 1 loaf of pumpkin bread uses 1 2/3 cup of flour. How many loaves of pumpkin bread did you make for the bake sale? We're going to take the number of cups of flour used, and that's going to equal the number of cups of flour in 1 loaf times the number of loaves. What we don't know is how many loaves we made, so that's my variable. This is an equation, so we're going to change it into an improper fraction first. We are multiplying the fraction by the variable. We've talked about this before. To undo multiplying a fraction, you multiply by its reciprocal, or its multiplicative inverse. So we're going to multiply each side by 5/3, and that's what we did here. Each side was multiplied by 5/3. That cancels the fraction on the right side, and 10 times 3/5 is going to be, well, before we do that, we actually want to divide out common factors. 10 and 5 both divide by 5. Oops, that's 2. I'm sorry, that's 1. And then that's 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So you make 6 loaves of pumpkin bread for the bake sale.